filmmakers. I just actually want the filmmakers to just introduce themselves and their films. I just stated that you created the films, but please, let's see your faces. Hello, greetings.
Hi, hello. Okay. My name is Godwin and Gaza Josiah. I'm a member of the Critics Company. My name is Raymond Joseph. Yeah, member of the Critics Company.
Beautiful. And Boma, if you can introduce yourself.
What's up? I'm Boma Iluma. I'm the co-writer and director of Comfort. Yeah.
I'll get to the actual questions part, but that part is perfect. Thank you so much. Akinola?
Hi, Akinola Davies Jr. I am the co-writer and director of Lizard. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Orire.
Hello, hi, my name is Orire Nwani from Nigeria, and I am the director for Naked Woman.
Many blessings. Thank you all so much for being here. And I also want to thank you all for creating these films and continuing to create art and inspire all of the other creators and future filmmakers. Because as we know, making films is not easy. Okay, it's a very much a collaborative effort and an effort that takes a lot of relationship building and connecting. And of course, telling the story is what's most important. And all of you have successfully done that through awards, screenings, and all, and especially during this screening. So I would love to speak about your inspiration for your films, each of your films. Excuse me, what inspired your stories and the actual topics that were explored. If we can just start with Comfort, please.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks again for having me and all of us. With Comfort, the idea was, I grew up in Atlanta. I grew up partially in Atlanta, and there were something that I knew that I became privy of early on was immigration issues, and how a lot of, in the Nigerian immigrant community that I lived in, there are a lot of people I knew who were dealing with immigration problems. And there are a lot of people who had single parent households because of the immigration problems, and one of the parents had been sent back home or deported. And you know, my parents kind of explained it to me really, like, later on what was going on and how the issues had affected some of the people that, you know, I was really close with growing up. And, you know, I'm at that age, I'm 26, and I did this film last year, and I just started to kind of look back at, you know, what people, or what my aunts and uncles and my parents must have been going through when they're at my age. And I just started to, you know, imagine what that was like, and started writing about that. And that led to us creating this story.
Thank you so much. You know, all of Nollywood is obviously storytelling, but it's telling stories of the world around us and depicting it to the best of our ability. So I love that you were able to reflect on your personal experience as you've had like close-up contact with these issues that were persisting in Atlanta at the time and still today. So this film is one that I think a lot of people can learn from and can be inside of the household understanding what's happening. I'm very grateful for this picture. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. The critics company, please tell us your inspiration.
Once again, thank you for having us here. Well, our film is basically inspired by Yoruba mythology. For the most part, and we like to kind of like center the themes of our films around, you know, family, parenthood, and specifically for this project, we wanted to kind of like tell the story of a reincarnate of a Yoruba god in modern Nigeria, and the struggles of a teenager kind of coming to terms with the fact that he has been blessed with abilities beyond his controls, and also his struggle with his single mother. So yeah.
Yeah, just to add, he has literally said everything. But just to add, the story is also kind of, we have really personal elements of our lives in the story because, for instance, the story is centered in Kaduna, Nigeria, which is northern Nigeria, and basically we have a lot of cultural and traditional showcase. It's very subtle in the film, but maybe when you watch it and you concentrate on it, you get to understand that Kaduna used to be a place where a lot of people could live together, no matter the culture, tradition, whatever. But something happened, and then all of a sudden we're not so together anymore. And so we also used the film to kind of pass message, various messages actually. So we didn't just want to make a very cool superhero film, at the end of the day. So.
Thank you, thank you. This film was amazing. It was so exciting to watch. My jaw dropped. I was like, sci-fi pow, what? Because I did not read the descriptor first and I was shaken. It was so beautifully done. But one of my favorite pieces of this film was what you were speaking about, the collaboration of different cultures, because we had Igbo, we had Yoruba, you had the Francophone and people speaking French in there at the beginning, and then obviously had English as well. And I felt that it made Nigeria feel like there was so much happening and so many people to connect to and connect with. So I'm very grateful that you were able to explore all of these different locations. And I will go back and have another question about locations later, but thank you for sharing that inspiration. And I see Akinola and Orire, you all are on the move. That's what we do as filmmakers, so I appreciate this visual right now. But please, Akinola, if you can share what your inspiration was for Lizard.
Sure. I guess my inspiration for Lizard was growing up in Lagos in the 90s and trying to honor what a true to life experience that happened, and also just kind of the inquisitive nature of, I guess, Nigerian children, and how maybe as a community or in general we maybe like deal with trauma or process trauma, and how that kind of works its way into aspects of our imagination. But yeah, it's probably a lot of themes in there, but yeah.
Oh wow, awesome. Very similar to Boma. It was something about reflection and a familiar experience. But I also love that you explored the perspective of this 8-year-old girl, that it's from the youth's perspective, that there seems like there's so much opportunity to move forward or make changes and not go down this other corrupt path corrupt path. And this question of morality. So I definitely want to speak more about morality later on in our conversation as well. So thank you for your film. Orire, please speak of your film. What was your inspiration for Naked Woman?
Hi, good day, everybody. So for me and my team, the idea behind Naked Woman came from a simple chat with a friend at a film festival we attended last year. She was talking about walking at a beach naked, and she just wants to do that for like an hour and let nobody stop her. And we all went, that sounds like an idea for a film. And then we say, okay, let's put that in a film, but what would the film be about? And when we thought through the idea, we realized that most of us as Nigerian kids, our parents tend to project their fears, their failures, things they couldn't achieve, they project it on us. So at the end of the day, we tend to want to become our parents because they are literally mirroring their lives before us. So that's what Naked Woman is about. It is really about the story of fear of a parent, fear of a mother, fear of your child repeating the same exact mistakes you made while growing up. So to avoid that, you just want to be on their case every day and any day, as long as they live.
Absolutely. I am very grateful to have had my father who has raised me. I did grow up in a single parent household, and I could very much relate to this story that, parents are always doing the best that they could. And I think that so many of us can relate to this story. but it becomes difficult when that mistrust happens, that, oh, what is going to happen with our connection? Like, how will we continue to grow after this? So I love that you explored that. And I love that you did a female perspective, because we're talking about 3 different generations right now. We have the mother, we have the child, and then we potentially have this child that maybe that doesn't exist, you know, the pregnancy that's out there. So that was heavy and so many levels to it. And I love that you explored all of these themes in one location. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna go pee here, right here. Oh my God. That was absolutely beautiful and brilliant and really great to see.
Thank you.
Of course. So yesterday, part of this festival, I had the pleasure of speaking with the esteemed Nigerian producer, Oke Ogunjiofor, who is the producer for Living in Bondage, the first home video to come out of Nollywood. Like, he sparked it. He said, we're making this happen. And during that, he introduced all of these nuances and themes that exist in Nollywood today, such as African morality and temptation and decisions that are shaped, or our life that is shaped by these decisions that we're presented with and make. So I saw that each of your films was dealing with this idea of morality and decision making. Can you all speak to that and how that's explored in your films? This is free. Anyone can go whenever you're ready. I won't call on you like school.
I'll go first. Sorry, can you just paraphrase the end of the question again?
Yes, I would love for you to speak how morality is explored in your film.
Okay, so I would say that even to your point of this idea of sort of corruption, it's quite funny. I in Europe and in the States, when people watch the film, there is 2 different discourses. So in the West, people are always like, oh, like the girl, your lead character, she saw all this corruption in the church. And then Nigerians will see the film and Nigerians will be like, oh yeah, that's just church, you know? And I think it kind of strikes a fine balance with maybe like a sense of like what's perceived as, you know, what's perceived as like moral and what's perceived as not moral. You know, I think the sort of deeper notions in the film, I guess, is more like an excavation of church and how church deals with morality, because I think we live in, especially in the southern part of Nigeria, it's predominantly Christian, even though Nigeria is 50-50 Christian, 50-50 Muslim, especially in the southern part of Nigeria. In the 90s, there were the growth of all these super churches. And actually Nigeria has like a wild, extreme range in nouveau riche and poverty. And I guess I was always curious at how those 2 things can live side by side when like we're all in this environment that was supposed to be taking care of each other. So I guess, I don't know if my film necessarily has any answers to that, but it's just always as a kid, I was just really fascinated by how much of a contradiction society, at least the society I grew up in, just felt, and just always found that interesting, I guess.
That's truly amazing, and you've said so much, because it takes a lot to challenge the church, and especially to challenge the church as a Nigerian. Like, we're speaking all to Nigeria, and they're very, as you said, it's 50-50, but it's religion that is pushing them forward. And I wanted to ask how that relates to your Nigerian identity in filmmaking and beyond, because we're showing these images on a global scale now. So how can you make a comment on church as a Nigerian? How did that feel? How did your family react, you know?
Funnily enough, most of my family are pretty cool, because I think most of us have like our critical hats on, even though we are all very entrenched in like different faiths. Right. I would say, I think whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim or not, I think that spirituality can hold itself accountable. And I think on many instances, the way it's the manner in which spirituality or religion is kind of marketed, or in the way it's kind of shared with people. The doctrine, I should probably say, is more the apt word. But I think, yeah, it depends. Some rule by fear, some rule by or some lead by fear, some lead by like conversation or like personal interpretation. So, but I would just say that, yeah, how my life deals with it is I think that spirituality as Africans we're innately spiritual, whether we're Christian, whether we're Muslim, or you have a different, more traditional practice. And I think maybe a lot of indigenous practices, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, religious practices, where there was always an opportunity to hold into account, but at a point, and a use for control and power and access to a lot of resources. So I'm just a very inquisitive person. So in my life, my practice, and with my family, I think everything's rife to be critiqued. Nothing's above critique, basically.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like that's our duty as filmmakers and as creatives, to put a mirror onto society, but allow us to progress by sharing these stories. The critics, do you want to chime in on morality? You're exploring so many different cultures in your film, and topics and spirituality.
I think morality, being like the distinction between, let's say, good and bad, is really very subjective. So as a person, my morals would definitely not equate to yours. And what I see as good is definitely not, or probably not, what you see as good. This particular film centers on, of course, our young character. But at the end of the day, we leave a kind of open ending to it, because I really don't want to spoil the film for those who are on the call.
Oh no, they just saw it. We're all ready to talk about it. Talk about it.
Okay. So basically, it's really an open ending at the end of the day, and it begs the question: what's at the end of the day is good and what is bad? Because we showed at the ending of the film. I'm going to use a scene and describe what I mean. At the ending of the film, we have the mother die, and the priest begins to confess incantations, and in the process, he says, if the child should have been dead a long time ago, this might have not happened. In the sense, just channeling the facts that what the tradition sees as good is probably not what the mother had seen as good, because they were ready to kill him, because he was a reincarnate and he was dangerous to the society. But she was willing to save him because, of course, he's her baby. And, it just shows the distinction. I'm just going to let everyone think about it.
I think that the conversation on morality is a very complex one, and it dives into so many subtopics. But this reminds me of a certain scenario we had when we went for research for this film. So the god which we focus on in this film is predominant to the people of Ekiti State in Nigeria. And well, these people are on another spectrum of religion. They are worshiping these gods to this day, and there was a popular misconception for Christians where we think that the god Eshu is the devil in Christianity, but apparently the god Eshu is the god of wealth and mischief, and they believe that Eshu should be worshipped too. And if you want to succeed in life, or you want to make money in life, you need to pray and worship Eshu. And how Christians are always condemning, traditional worshippers. And the analogy that I used to describe religion was that we see God as a market, and there are so many ways into the market. Because you use this way to the market doesn't mean that my own way to the market is wrong. So, yeah.
That was beautiful. I love that. That should be on a t-shirt or something. There's so many ways to the market. I love that explanation, and this idea of morality, that was how it was explored in your film, simply because he has the power of a demigod. Like, he has all of this power, and his mom is just go to school. pay attention in class. Like if I have all of this power of thunder and smoke, everything that was coming out of my mouth, why am I in class? What else should I do? And then what the priest came in and told him what he was capable of as well. Everyone in the story had their specific goal in mind, but it was the focus of the child and making a decision at the end. Very well done on that film. Boma, how was your film exploring morality, since it's a very apparent theme all over?
Yeah, it explores in a couple of different ways. Like our main character, Chidi, is, I mean, he's at a dilemma. On one level, the whole structure of the story is that he has to tell he goes to pick up his son, something that he usually doesn't do. And he has to explain this whole, why she's not there, like where she is. And in the structure of it, he's dealing with what he could have done in these situations. Could he have listened to her more? Could he have prevented this tragedy? And in that, it's also the injustice of what she's experiencing, how Comfort's boss was exploiting her and she felt trapped, where Comfort was afraid to speak up for herself, and she feared that if she did, that she would end up being deported, which is what happened. So yeah, it hits it on different levels. Like I think I'm not like a political scholar, I'm not like a politician or anything, but I mean, it does raise the question. What we tried to raise the question was like, what is the solution to the immigration issues that we have here in the US and pretty much all over the world that's, in the last couple of years, and what's the morality of it? What is the, how do you solve the issues of people, or why are people leaving their homes, and why are people leaving their home countries? Like, why are people leaving Nigeria? And what's the reason for that? And then how do we take care of them? What's the social responsibility that our states here to take care of them in the West, or having ways for them to live their lives here? So yeah, it's kind of hitting it at different levels. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think your film, as well as Orire's film, it really speaks to what parents have to do, and that is the best that they can at all times. So while this father is grieving his wife that is now gone, he's also trying to accept that what he did was the best that he could do, but then also pick up his son and be like inspiration for his son in the future. It's very heavy and so many layers in this film. So dealing with morality, your individual morality, societal expectations, and obviously what you want to instill in your child later is difficult. It's very difficult, and I think it's a very emotional piece as well.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's all about processing too, like all characters are kind of processing what's happening to them, and like just the morality of each situation. So and I think that's just what's happening in life at all moments. It's like you're processing what happened to you 10 years ago, you're processing something that, that as we're speaking right now, just constantly processing. So each character has their moments doing that.
For sure, absolutely. Orire, did you answer the morality question? I apologize.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, I was like, I think I didn't get back to you. Please tell us everything that Naked Woman has.
So Naked Woman is really a conversation between a mother and a daughter. And one of the things that we were hoping to achieve is to create a scenario where everybody can see themselves in this situation. At some point in our lives, everybody have had that conversation with their parents about, you lived your life, let me live mine. And that's one of the things we wanted to do with Naked Woman. Another thing we wanted to touch was how profiling. I'm sure when you saw the daughter, immediately you thought, oh, this must be a wayward girl. She's just coming for a party. She's probably having like 6 boyfriends.
She was happy is what I saw, just on the phone, happy. I'm like, all right.
And those are one of the things we want to talk about, where you can give people the benefit of the doubt to be who they want to be, and know that nobody wants to deliberately destroy their own life by themselves.
Yes.
So people would make the best decisions for themselves. People would decide what to do with their lives. And if you've lived yours, clearly you've lived yours, and let them live theirs. So really, that's what we were trying to do in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as it relates to the exploration of morality, I feel that the mother, she kind of gave up a bit on her, not on her morals or anything, but she's just very displeased with herself. So she's taking it out on this child and putting her moral beliefs and the decision she made on her child, when obviously they both need to live their separate lives.
Yeah, and it's a thing. Well, I will speak for most Nigerian parents or African parents. It's a thing where you just think that if during my lifetime I had gone down this path and I think there is nothing there, then you, my child, shouldn't do the same. Sometimes they may be right. It is really in the execution of their thoughts towards the child that would determine if the child would choose to go in that direction or not.
Thank you. Yes, that's heavy, and that is a lot of pressure for the child, a lot of pressure for the parent. And I guess we're still all trying to figure out how to move forward and instill the correct morals. But we're all doing the best that we can every darn day. That's what I have to say about it. So Comfort, I just want to shout you out because your film was part of the Indeed Rising Voices with Lena Waithe, correct?
That's correct.
Wow, congratulations. Yes,
thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I was curious, but I'm curious for everyone, but how does it feel about Nigerian cinema, how it's become such a massive industry, Nollywood, enormous, but being part of that image that's being depicted on a global scale? Do you feel that you have a specific duty to share these stories, or are you just simply expressing and storytelling?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think the thing about Nigeria is that there is 250 tribes and 250 different languages, and there's just so many different like cultures within Nigeria. And like, I mean, even us on the call, I could just tell by our names that we're all from like different tribes and different regions in the country. So yes, there's a responsibility to like represent like how I grew up and like the culture that I grew up in, like accurately. But it's also like Nigerians aren't like a monolith. It's so like different. Like there's so many different ways that, you know, we all live and coexist. You know, and it's just like, I mean, if you want to say coexist with what's going on in our country, but like, yeah, they're just it is responsibility, but not so much. Like I feel like there's just a lot of places to go creatively.
Absolutely.
How you represent it.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful that we all have so many different stories, even in this call right now, and they're from different regions and expressions. So it just takes making sure that all of these stories are told authentically and honestly, but honest in the sense that they're told by creatives with the technical prowess. And each of you are those amazing creatives. Does anyone else want to speak on how big the massive industry is and your global scale?
I'll jump in because I'm loving the conversation, but unfortunately I have to leave in a second. But to your point, Nigeria is, depending on who you're speaking to, is the second or third largest movie industry in the world. It's also, Nollywood's also incredibly young. I think Nollywood is maybe like in its late teens, effectively.
1992.
Yeah, so I think by default that just means it's an evolving industry, right? So we had the original Nollywood guys, and I guess everyone on this call is like representing a different generation of Nollywood, right? And I think we all have maybe more responsibilities to our generation or responsibilities to ourselves as artists to express ourselves how best we can and how we want to tell stories, because I think every generation gets, you know, every generation gets its turn. And I think, you know, every generation is kind of affected by socioeconomic, political situations in their country or where they live, and that somehow, some way affects entry points into storytelling and the sorts of stories you want to tell. So I would probably say, yeah, we do have a responsibility of self, but just to echo on what Boma said, is that ultimately, like, Nigeria is a nation, is a myriad of nations within a nation, basically, right? There's so many different tribes, so many different original kingdoms, so rich and dense in culture, and we haven't even like hit the tip of the iceberg in terms of talking about our history and culture and how rich and what contributions we all have, not only on an African scale, but on like a global scale, you know, like if you go to the British Museum, the American Museum, all our art's like stolen and propping up all these places. And a lot of our works permeated through different artists, whether it's Duchamp or whether it's whatever, they were all influenced by works that come from our land, you know, effectively. So I would say, you know, I think we're just carrying that baton for our ancestors in the way as best we can, just trying to, I guess our medium is storytelling. So yeah, we're just trying to represent ourselves first, and maybe responsibility kind of comes later. But in the same way, that responsibility will also depict, in what I said before, we're also kind of open to critique and open to constructive criticism based on how we create work and how we tell those stories, or how we choose to tell those stories.
That was amazing. So many gems. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know you have to run out. If you want to drop your contact information, like Instagrams or whatever, you can feel free to put it in the chat so we can all connect with you and continue to support your film.
I'll do that. I'll put that in chat. I just want to say to Boma, to the critics, to Orire, that it's a pleasure to be on a panel with you guys. I got asked a question after Lizard won Sundance, maybe last year, that do I consider myself Nollywood or do I not consider myself Nollywood? And I was actually like, I'm proudly Nollywood, I'm proudly Nigerian, and I want to be associated with Nollywood because I think ultimately I'm just one of a myriad of new voices, and I'm just proud to be amongst you guys. So yeah, nice to meet you guys, and thank you guys, and I look forward to seeing your films. And please, let's all be in contact, and lovely. Thank you for your curation, Muhyi Ali. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. And thanks to the Smithsonian. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Anyone else wanted to speak on? I know Akinola said so much and it was absolutely powerful, important about going back and talking and speaking with our ancestors, both living and have passed on, in order to inspire and so that we can progress in our emerging artistry. Does anyone else want to speak on that?
I think for me, Nollywood has stories for days. There are stories here that can never be outtold. It's a booming industry. It's an industry that is opening up to the world. We have a lot of global brands coming into Nigeria, trying to see if they can do originals with Nigerian storytellers. And it is just the beginning of greater things that is happening in the industry here. For our stories, we have really authentic stories, and which is why I'm really excited to be on this call with the critics, with Boma and Davies, because fortunately I've seen some of the films and I am really in awe of the type of work that is being created. So for me as a person, there is really no difference there was no old Nollywood, there's no new Nollywood, because some of us are really just building on what the old guys have created. So if that foundation does not exist, we probably wouldn't exist, because we really did not create anything. We met a system, we learned to use the system, and the system seems to be working for us. We are just bringing in new ideas on how to run the system. So it is not old Nollywood versus new Nollywood. It is just a group of people trying to build their own industry together.
Yes, that was so beautiful. Very well put. Please continue to keep pushing Nollywood forward and be proud of where you're from, and your people, and all of the creation that has been made out of Nigeria. Anything else?
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly speak on this. Just going back to a few years before we started filmmaking, active filmmaking, the Critics Company as a name came from making comedy skits and videos to criticize Hollywood films, simply because we did not like the kind of films that were being put out as of that time, or the kind of films we were exposed to. So basically, what happened was we realized that most of these comedy skits, quote and unquote, were not so funny, and we were just wasting our time. And so what we decided to do was we were going to tell the stories that we wanted to see on screens. So instead of criticizing something, you could actually do your little to making the change or adding the little change and the spice you want, in that thing. So that was when we took it on ourselves to start making the kind of films we want to see.
Yeah.
Subtly, it has not really felt like a responsibility, because in every single film we make, we show our community, we show the problems our community have, because it's basically our problems too. So it has not really felt like a responsibility for a long time. And most part of it is just us telling our stories. And I think the most beautiful thing is just being able to tell stories you want to tell and how you want to tell them at the end of the day. Personally, I have a problem with labels, industry labels in a sense, because the question always keeps coming up, just like David says, are you Nollywood or are you Hollywood, right? And my question is, what makes a film Hollywood and what makes a film Nollywood? If telling a story in Nigeria makes it Nollywood, then we are Nollywood, of course. And so basically, it's a very deep conversation. But I don't feel a sense of responsibility as a filmmaker to tell stories about my community, because I tell them already. It's my life. So it's not like a responsibility. It's just what I have gone through and have done. So basically.
Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. And that is a question that I have as well. I believe Hollywood, it's generally coming out of like California, United States, like, okay, we're part of these major industries, like Paramount, Universal, and the major industries. But in 1992, when Living in Bondage came out, it was with VHS tapes and just not even like, it was farmers and teachers. They were the ones creating films. But now that we've advanced so much, we have actual filmmakers who are going to school or taking the technical training and learning so much and creating this media outside of Nollywood. And the reason, or in Nollywood, and the reason that Nollywood is such a huge medium is because there's so much room for content. They produce over 1,000 films a year. What? Making films is so hard. Making films is so hard, and yet Nigeria is pumping them out and creating these amazing stories, and you all are part of that. And I am so grateful that you're making a way for the stories that you want to make. I am incredibly grateful for the Critics Company, and please continue to criticize what you do see, so that you can also make room for other filmmakers to create even more that you want to see. Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Right now, it is 2:42 Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to jump into the audience. If the audience has any questions, by all means, please ask them, raise your hand. I know that this is partially in person, so if you all want to jump in, throw it in the chat or hit the Q&A. If not, I have some questions.
I just want to toss out there that it's just funny seeing the critics here, because we worked together in Abuja like 2 years ago. So just good catch.
It's like a full circle moment.
Yeah, I know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's funny that I think Orire was on the set of King of Boys.
Yeah, so we also met.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's important that you all are continuing to rise together. That's so important. I love that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be on a film set with you all one day as well. So we'll just keep on going up together.
Yeah.
Soon. Very soon.
Hopefully.
Yes, very soon. If the audience doesn't have any questions, if you do, feel free to chime in. but I'll jump in. I want to get into the technical aspects, okay? Because making films is extremely hard. I cannot say that enough. It's difficult, but it's extremely fun and the greatest feeling, creating life. That's what I compared to, creating life into this world. So I'm going to get into the technical aspects after this lovely question.
Wow, okay. Should I do it from the side or do I face the audience? Okay. Hi everyone. It's good to see you guys. The version. If anything, I respect all your work. Sorry, my name is Mimi Bartels. I head production at Film One Entertainment. I think critics were on a call like, yeah, I know you're laughing because you know where you look at you. But my question really was, because I've never really understood the short film space. I've had more experience in feature films. So anybody who wants to take this, what has your journey been like in terms of like the short film areas? And then are there any feature films that you're interested in telling? And sorry, so the other one has a B question. Are there any feature films that you have? And is there any feature film that you think we haven't told yet? Like, is there a story that you feel that hasn't been told that needs to be told? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Boma.
Oh, you want to go? Go ahead.
No, oh, please go.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna answer the second question first. You know, one of the motivations for telling Comfort was I'd never seen the Nigerian American experience put on screen, like ever. And there are Nigerians all over, everywhere I go. When I was in school, I met so many Nigerians. When I worked and like I had a little 9 to 5 for a little bit, there were so many Nigerians. Like everyone I know in and outside of the industry, they work with Nigerians, like Nigerian culture. And y'all see it too with, you know, with Burna Boy and Thames and everyone coming over to the West. Nigerians are so like a big part of American culture. But yeah, we don't really know how we live, what it's like for us, our experiences like in the US. So there are feature films I want to tell, and I want to tell it from that perspective. Comfort was just a shiver of that. It's just like the immigration issues are very common within our community, and what is us getting visas, student visas, dealing with that, also dealing with being away from home, growing up in America in a culture that you don't fully recognize, but then you're also so far away from your culture back home. Like there are a lot of struggles that a lot of Nigerians are faced with here, and that's what we try to explore in Comfort. And there are a lot of books and articles written about this that and my own personal story and stories of my friends that I'd love to explore in the future world. Is it possible for us to repeat the first question that she asked?
Sorry, production everywhere. What is your short film journey like? Like, what's it been like with short films?
Yeah, I mean, in broad strokes, like, you know, it all started off, you know, finding money, paying it for it myself, and just finding ways to, like, you know, just very DIY, getting all your friends, everyone you know, borrowing equipment. Critics, I know you guys know, I see y'all laughing. I know y'all know what it's like, you know, just you have to hustle just to make it, you know, you really want to tell those stories and make it super concise, because you know you only have people's attention for like, you know, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And as you gain more skills and more confidence, you start to tell longer and more in-depth stories, and people start investing more into your voice, into your work. So at least for me personally, it took some time for me to find my artistic style and the stories that I wanted to tell. And with this piece in particular, Comfort, I ended up applying for this program, the Rising Voices program. And how it worked is there are some questions about the story and you have to write the script, but it's also like it's portfolio based. You show your past work, and based on that, they give you money to make a short, which is what happened. It was the first time I received any money to make a short film. So, which was a big deal for me. So, yeah, it's just a lot of like trial and error, finding your voice, and then hopefully somebody seeing the vision that you have with the limited resources you use to make your stories, and then investing that with resources.
Thank you, Boma. So I'll just build off from where Boma stopped. I think for me, as a filmmaker, film is the only thing I know how to do. Telling stories is the only thing I know how to do. If you ask me to stop doing film, if you ask me to stop telling stories, I literally don't know how to survive. The reason why I'm in a car right now is I am coming from a movie set. So films are literally the only things I know how to do. So my short film journey is that where, because we want to tell stories and we want to tell stories, we need people to believe that we are capable of telling those stories as young filmmakers. But then you approach an investor to say, oh, I know how to make films and I have the story idea that I think I want to make. And you tell them the budget. They just go, I'm not sure. How many films have you created? What have you done? Well, if I create this film, I would have done a film. But really, nobody wants to take that chance. Nobody wants to really do that. So you have to look for equipment, and short films really do not return your investment. It's really not like the feature film where you can take it to the cinemas and then you make some money, or you're able to sell to some of the streaming platforms. It's really not like that in the short film space. You have to know that any sort of funding you're putting into a short film, you're letting go of it. And then you create such content, you create such stories, and hope that platforms like Smithsonian get to screen your film on a scale like this, to a global audience. And for stories that have not been told. So speaking in terms of Nollywood, I think that, like I said earlier, there are a lot of stories. Like, not one person can tell all of the stories that exist in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. We have so many stories that are original to us. We have so many stories that are unique to our own style. We have so many stories that people would not believe if they see on screen. And I think that currently in Nollywood, in our industry, the type of stories that we've been able to project, the type of stories that we are projecting, they are just they're just the small parts of the volume or the kind of stories that we can filmmakers, if young storytellers like the critics, Boma, myself, can get the funding that we need, or the type of funding that we will be able to tell stories that we, let me tell a personal story. For Naked Woman, when we were on set, the mother in the scene came and she looked young. She wasn't in fact, she and the daughter were like age mates. There was no difference. And the only thing that we could do was to say, nah, we can't make the film because the woman does not look the part of a mom. And eventually, something happened and someone said, let us loosen her hair. Because if the hair is loose, most women look older when they have their hair not well put together. And then we did that, and then it worked. And she looked like she was like in her 40s. And then we were like, great, we made the film. And if that didn't happen, we didn't really require, there was no makeup, there was no SFX on her face, no VFX, nothing at all. It was just in loosening up the hair. And there are several stories that we can pull out from as Nigerians, as African, that we can put on screen. And when people see, they can totally relate with it. So all I am saying in itself is, I think that there are so many stories that we can tell as Nigerians and as Africans, and I am really looking forward to us telling those type of stories and putting it on platforms like this. And also, Mimi, just to chip in, uh, we did your interview at for the King of Boys documentary.
Okay. This is okay. Let's all. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was reading.
I think for us, short films, we've been making short films for a couple of years now, and we have made so many short films. And in these short films, they are the really terrible short films, and they are the good short films. And for this particular one, we felt like this was the project that would make people maybe take us seriously. So it was kind of just 3 years of hard work and tugging at the little bit and just making sure that this project comes out at the best quality. Touching on this B question is Tomorrow's War is actually a proof of concept for a larger material. And to be honest, I think stories choke. So we just continue this conversation through mail with me, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of stories to tell. We have a document of stories we would hope to tell. But quickly, also just going back to the first questions, short films have just been a way of learning generally for us. A lot of mistakes we have made in short films, we've not made in the next. So if we make a short film and we watch it together, we're very self-critical. We tell ourselves the truth. Okay, this was not done right. We're going to do better in the next. And all of these, daily and monthly reviews of our films is what has brought us to making Tomorrow's War. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people watch Tomorrow's War and see it to be, great, decent project. But we have criticized Tomorrow's War and we have seen every single thing we have done wrong in it. So for us, short films are just like a learning phase. Making short films have just been like a learning phase. And basically, just like Raymond has rightly said also, hopefully this particular short film goes on to become a bigger short film, because the universe we have on paper is really large, and hopefully we can bring that to screen, at the end of the day. Yeah, I guess that's all I would say on this.
Okay. Thank you all so much. We're actually about to wrap up now. I do see there's another audience member. Are you looking? Do you have a question? Yes, please.
So first and foremost, it was absolutely thrilling to get to watch all of these short films, just amazing. And Boma, I want to thank you as a Nigerian living here in America for telling our story, because we are everywhere and we do impact this nation in so many different ways, but we don't really see our stories on screen. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more from you. I don't know if he's still here, but when I was watching The Naked Woman, I was so sure that was a story that was written by a woman. And so when you popped up on screen, I'm like, wait a second. And then just that scene where you have her actually right there in their sitting room or whatever, decide, okay, I'm going to pee on this stick for you. That was so powerful. And to tell that whole story, 2 people in one location, that was ridiculous. It was amazing. And then as someone who is also exploring African spirituality and who we were and how we used to worship, I truly appreciate the work that the critics that you guys are doing. And please bring some more, because we've got a whole Orisha that you can explore, right? And get the women on screen as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that insight. And I completely agree. All of you are creating amazing work and continuing to push this narrative forward and share the stories that we not only want to see, but that we need to see, because we are truly affecting not only America, not only Nigeria, but the entire world. So I'm so grateful that you all took your time to create these films. But that is the end of our talk. This is it. So thank you all for the conversation. Please share your contact information, and make sure everyone in the audience, everyone that showed up, make sure you are supporting these filmmakers. It has been echoed several times, but I will say it as clear as possible. Filmmakers need money to make films. They need your support. They need you to continue to like, to share, to contact your friends, and make sure that you are creating this network and supporting these films that we are creating. And realistically, we need money to make these films and make them high quality, because we know what a non-quality film looks like. Thankfully, we didn't see any of that today with these filmmakers, but please continue to support and send your love and money. All right, so thank you all so much. This has been the +234 Connect Festival, presented by the National Museum of African Art, from September 28th to October 2nd, 2022. They have so many films, they have talks, master classes, so many things going on. So be sure to follow and show up to all of these events. My name is Muhyi Ali, and this has been the Shorts Program. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you for having us.
It's nice seeing you guys again.
Great seeing you.